Welcome to Certain Point of View, your first step into a much nerdier world. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. Just go to certainpov.com. Thanks. And now your hosts, Ben Milton and Addy Thomas.
Hey Nerferders, I'm Addy Thomas.
And I am Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking about the current season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The show is not done yet. This episode is coming out probably on the day of the second to last episode of the season. So we're going to talk about what we've enjoyed with this past season, what, our critiques are, what we'd like to see in the next two episodes, and what might be the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Before that, don't forget you can go to our website, certainpov.com, check out everything from the Weight Loss Civil War to Patreon to our social media. Again, all of that is on our website, certainpov.com. All right, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is, what is it, season 5?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. So this season, we'll just back it up just a little bit, started off with Ghost Rider and
a very mystical feel to the show.
Right.
You're dealing, like you said, with Ghost Rider, you're dealing with the Darkhold, you're dealing with, the forces of hell on Earth and vengeance, and
it had some it made sure to kind of fit sort of some of the otherworldliness and other dimensions that we saw in Doctor Strange.
Right.
So
right.
It did a very admirable job of not necessarily being so closely tied to Doctor Strange, but being in the same vein.
And being in the same
world.
Universe, yeah.
Right.
Yep. And just expanding that universe.
And that was a very enjoyable first half of the season. I enjoyed their Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes with the car instead of a motorcycle. We even got to see Johnny Blaze actually for a split second.
Yeah.
But it was definitely it was fun. Definitely the best version of Ghost Rider we've seen on screen so far. You're gonna defend Nicolas Cage right now? Or?
I really like the second one.
The second one is better. Is good. It's better. It's not great, though.
It's not great, no.
Yeah.
It's a forgettable
But it does
movie.
tap into a little bit more into the insanity of it.
the writer,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and just how volatile he is as a character.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing, the first one didn't do a great job of, is just that he is not necessarily a superhero. He is definitely an anti-hero.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're absolutely. It was a simpler story. It was, I enjoy Spirit of Vengeance, but it's not memorable. Whereas this, I did really, I enjoyed the character arc. I enjoyed the kind of the war, the conflict between Robbie Reyes and the Spirit of Vengeance type of thing. I thought that was very compelling. I thought his...
I thought they didn't do enough with it.
I agree that they could do more. It would have been nice to see more.
But I know they're on a budget.
Yeah, so there's that. And for that budget, they did a great looking Ghost Rider.
They did. Yeah. They really did. It was surprisingly well done.
Especially
on a show who's notorious for really bad special effects.
Right. Well, it's network TV. So I mean that's kind of what happened. So I'm glad that we got what we did. But I'm not going to dwell too much on the Ghost Rider part of it. I really want to get into sort of the second half of the season. It did some great setup that the Darkhold corrupting the first created LMD. Mm-hmm. So we got a little bit of, I think, what I wanted out of the Ultron story. An AI created for good that was corrupted.
Yeah.
And is now on a mission to create itself, find... identity.
Yeah.
And also really delve into the identity of everyone who is on the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think that's been fascinating. Well, the first half of the LMD story has been interesting. I actually kind of like how this season's been divided up. The first half of the season was,
Rider and the Darkhold. Very straightforward, yeah.
And this back half of the season's been kind of two arcs.
Yeah.
Because you've had the LMD.
I would say like beginning, middle, and end.
Right. Right, and you've had because it's very LMD focused for the first half, and then we're in this alternate reality, created by the AI that they have to break out, very Matrix-like, very House of M-like, this false reality that they need to rescue each other out of. But in that reality, it's a reality where Hydra has won. Yeah. So that's created even more interesting story and a great opportunity to bring back some fan favorites. And some, it's funny, like we've only had like a season and a half without Ward, but I actually really enjoyed seeing him back.
Oh my God. It felt like seeing him was kind of reminiscent of seeing Hayden Christensen at Celebration. I was like, yes!
Because I remember a lot, like the last season, I was like, okay, like I'm a little tired of Ward. They need to get rid of him. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad he's back.
Well, the nice thing was they switched it up, and instead of being the villain this time, he was actually, a hero. He was the hero. Yeah. Which was kind of cool in this alternate reality, was like everybody was just a little bit different. So they could play with these characters in ways that we've never got to see them before, which was very cool. Having Fitz as the doctor, or the villain as the guy who's like running Hydra with Madam Hydra was really, really great. Like, it was refreshing to see, and he played that so well. Yeah. But it was great seeing Ward. It was great seeing
I love seeing Trip.
Trip was fantastic.
I really liked his character a lot. And I was so bummed when he got killed.
Yeah, his death was a big loss for that show. It was really, really. He was a great character. He's a great actor, but
and really charismatic, too.
Yeah. It was a strange choice that they lost him and kept Mac.
Yeah, well, but you know what? Mac has grown on me since then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But like when it happened, you were like,
wow, did they really just kill one black guy and replace it with another?
That's exactly what they did. And they killed him with a less interesting black guy. Okay, that's an odd choice. Like, all right, we'll see where you go with this, I guess. But and they did give, they gave Mac a really good story in this season, too. Yeah. In this season, he had a fantastic arc.
Yeah.
And the way it seemingly ends for him is I think really satisfying for that character. It makes a lot of sense, like looking back at his character and, the seasons that we've had with him and, his talk about, losing hope. And, you always kind of thought that was metaphorical, and it turns out it's his daughter. And, like that's good storytelling. That's really good storytelling.
Yeah, because they've always kind of hinted at that mystery of what was incomplete in his life and why he was where he was. Right. So that was really cool to finally reveal that. Through this alternate reality, and it's been interesting, like what they gave each person to make them whole in their own way.
Right.
Like giving May a never-ending fight was a very fascinating exploration of her character. A character that often seems very one-dimensional. Yeah. But they've actually added a lot of nuance to her in the last 2 seasons, especially.
Yeah, as they started to develop the relationship between her and Coulson.
Yeah, well, even with her and her previous
the Inhuman,
her ex-husband. I thought there was quite a lot to that because they also got a chance with the Inhumans to kind of really explore what made her who she was. That mission
with the Calvary.
That went wrong. Yeah, exactly. So there's been some really cool things I think they've done over the past couple seasons. This show has had, definitely has had its downs.
For sure.
But and it definitely had a rough start, but
it's been pretty even.
Yeah, but ever since the big reveal in Winter Soldier, I think it's been a solid show.
Yeah,
and it's been steadily gotten better. I mean, I guess it's got, at some point the show's got to end, but it sounds like
this is it. Yeah,
it might be wrapping up very soon.
Well, I don't. I wonder, like. I wouldn't.
Well, how do you have a crossover with Infinity War with these guys?
Exactly. Well, that's one thing. Yeah. And then the other thing that I was thinking about is like, what else do you have to tell? Like, what other stories do you really want to tell with these characters?
Have Coulson join the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, fine, but that's not a TV show. Right. Like, you can have him, sitting next to Howard the Duck in a cameo in Guardians 3. I don't. There's not really much left to tell with these characters after this story.
Yeah, and it's smart to end it on its own terms. It's always been a kind of a rough renewal for this show as well. And, obviously there's certain characters that even they took away hoping to spin off into their own show, but that didn't end up happening.
That's right. We didn't see them in the alternate universe. Yeah. Which is really disappointing. Mockingbird and what was the other dude?
Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they have their own other shows right now.
They don't.
They don't?
No.
Adrian Palicki doesn't. Usually she's on something.
I haven't seen her anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't.
She's probably just collecting checks and just sitting on a beach somewhere from that development deal for the Mockingbird show that got canned.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm shocked. Like of everybody that they brought back, they should have brought those two back.
Yeah, it is a little surprising that they didn't.
Because they were
major characters.
They were major characters, and fans loved them enough that they were going to spin them off into their own show.
Right.
And gave them a big send off and everything. Like it's going to happen, and then it fell through.
Yeah.
I guess they really weren't that popular, so I'm probably just talking out of my ass. But I'm just, now that I think about it, I'm disappointed I didn't see them.
Right. But you know what though? At the same time though, that's given them the time to really focus in on what makes each of these characters tick. It's been a very interesting exploration. Daisy / Skye has always been kind of the main character
focus,
of the show, and her arc has really gone to some interesting places. Because we started off this season with her on the run, with dealing with loss and kind of wanting an end to who, just wanting to end her life in a lot of ways, just in the fight. So it's cool to see sort of renewed purpose for this moment. It's cool to see her evolution into a true hero as Quake. And I think that we're finally reaching the end of that arc. I think we've seen the journey, obviously Simmons and Fitz, that's a big relationship on the show. So that's also kind of like coming to its natural conclusion.
There's only so many ways that you can keep those guys apart.
Right. Yeah. And it was good that they didn't really keep them apart for most of this season.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was smart. Coulson has sort of also gotten to a very interesting place as far as who he is as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Like even leaving it and coming back into it.
Yeah.
It was, I think, was also very compelling. And even for someone who in the alternate reality wasn't and shouldn't be, kind of stepping into that role, I think was very fascinating. So I'm glad we've gotten a chance to spend time with these characters who really had you would never expect to ever get adapted. A character that for all intents and purposes should have stayed dead after the Avengers.
Right.
But I'm glad they decided to
It's been a fun ride, and I think it's been an important part of the MCU as a whole. Like, Coulson was the glue that kind of, that coalesced the Avengers in, heading into Avengers 1. And I think this show in many ways has been a glue kind of tying and fleshing out the rest of the Marvel movies universe. Because, again, you have an hour and a half to tell a story. There's only so much world building you can do in that time. And I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does a great job of sort of like coloring in outside of the big picture to kind of just flesh it out. And as you're watching all of it, go, okay, like this is all happening at the same time. Like they do an okay job of tying back into like major movie events here and there.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's a double-edged sword, as we saw with that first season, because there's a good chunk of that first season
that wasn't great
because they were waiting
and didn't know why they were waiting.
Yeah.
Like it's frustrating to me that Marvel struggles to world build like this.
Yeah.
That there is a sort of a disconnect between TV and movies. And, when they first announced that it's all connected and they're like, what happens on the movies is going to affect the TV shows and vice versa and stuff like that. Now Netflix kind of like seems to be off on its own.
Yeah. Even separate from the rest of the TV for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you
would think you could get Coulson to show up on, the Defenders.
Can you imagine if that's what happens in Defenders? Like you see some of those characters show up, it would be
cool.
Fantastic.
But at the same time, you also need to let those characters come into their own. It would be nice, but
they don't have to be a major part of it, but just like to be there as
would be cool.
would be fantastic. Like just to make a cameo and an appearance and a couple lines, and that's it. That would be fantastic. And they did that early on in the experiment of this whole thing, where we had Lady Sif show. You had Sam Jackson show up as Fury.
That's right.
Lady Sif show up. Like, they did some really interesting things in the to tie it all together, and that sort of has drifted apart, and they've decided not to do that apparently.
Well, especially when they kind of moved into Inhumans territory, that's when it really they started to really separate themselves, because that's when they stopped having Asgardians show up at all. And of course, Nick Fury only showed up for the season finale of season 1. So, again, big moments. It was great seeing Sam Jackson show up. But yeah, I think it realized it needed to have its own legs, because they just weren't getting what they needed from Marvel movies to really make it.
But yeah, that's the frustrating thing, though. Yeah. Like, there should have been enough. There should have been enough. Like Star Wars Story Group. Like, it is all connected.
Oh, absolutely.
Comic books, it's all connected. It's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
And I know Marvel went first. They owned Marvel first, so maybe the quote unquote Star Wars Story Group has learned by the mistakes of Marvel.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand ultimately why they can't play nice in the same sandbox. Yeah, it seems like an ego problem.
It does. It really does. It just feels like there is a lack of respect for the TV division.
Right.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah.
Because, it's just a great medium for comics. It really is.
It's perfect for comics. Yeah. You see that with Netflix. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Look at what they're doing.
And, actually, why don't we shift to some Defenders talk for a moment?
Okay.
Because we got a Defenders trailer today.
We did.
Yeah.
And it looks great.
Except for one moment.
Which is?
Danny Rand still doesn't look like he knows how to fight.
I swear to God. I
may have been finally convinced that the casting is bad. I was hoping that it's just a matter of the training isn't so good. Did you see the shot? Cool moments. I do like seeing them all together.
Yeah.
And I will say that it does look like he and Luke have chemistry to be the Luke Cage and Iron Fist that I've wanted. But did you see the fight, the last fight, the last shot?
In the hallway fight?
Yeah, so you Jessica Jones, pushes some dude, and, Luke knocks out another guy, and then, Danny just bounces and into the fight.
Yeah, he does that jump around.
Yeah,
girl, weak-ass punch over. Yeah.
And it's still disappointing.
It's not good. It's not good. We'll see.
It's weird. My hope is... This is the group. These two showrunners are the ones that did Daredevil season 2.
Right.
And while my favorite scene in all of these movies, my favorite action scene in all of these movies is still the hallway fight from season 1, just because of the emotional nature of it.
We'd never seen anything like that before.
Right. And how fresh it was and everything like that. But the fights in season 2 are amazing.
They really are.
The fights with the hand...
Yeah,
are incredible.
Yeah, Charlie Cox and that stunt team work their asses off.
Yeah, and I know that I've heard plenty of stories that they were teaching Finn Jones his moves the day of the shoot.
Right.
They've got to be able to get this prep.
Looks like it might be a little late now.
I really hope this is good. Or, well, what's interesting? So
or they hide him.
I was spent some time watching some video of people doing re-edits to some of the fights in Iron Fist.
Yeah.
To make them work better.
A little better, yeah.
Yeah, there was the drunken master fight.
Yeah.
They just sped it up basically in a lot of different sections that it would have made sense, and it looked so much better.
Right.
He still has that sort of
awkward movement.
Well,
or
Danny
Jones? Yeah. Oh,
he still has.
He still can't throw a punch.
Yeah, it's too smooth in certain areas. There was one guy who had a really interesting breakdown. It's a third-year film student. So, and he points it out, and he's like, and I can do a better job than what they did with this. And he did. But, he does a great job at kind of pointing out, it was the opening fight of the series. And so it's not really even a fight. It's the one where he's like kind of like easily throwing off the security guards when he needs to go up the elevator to meet with the Meachams.
Right.
You know, and he's like, it's very like super easy, and it should be because he's handling the guards. But then all of a sudden, like with one of the guards, he has a tougher time with, and like you can see like he has like a grimace on his face, which doesn't make sense because he's supposed to again
be the immortal Iron Fist,
right.
who has trained his whole life in martial arts, who can't fight for shit. It's so frustrating, like that.
But was
that whole show was a mess. He cut out
that look, like he just shortened that shot, so you didn't see that look, and all of a sudden, like the scene worked.
Right.
So my hope is that there's someone watched some of these videos online and is able to.
The fact that they got a different showrunner, I think, is going to help a lot.
Yeah, because while the fights were bad, there were other issues that I think were far more.
There's a lot of boardroom scenes in that show for a show about a guy who's a martial artist and fights crime. There's a lot of boardroom scenes talking about business and boardrooms and who's who and what are we going to do about the business and what about Danny Rand? Is he really Danny Rand? Let's have a boardroom meeting. You know,
I was fine with a little bit of like drawing out a little bit of the mystery of whether or not he is Danny Rand because like this guy does come out of nowhere. Like there was a little bit of that natural thing. The problem was again that they focused. If that was fine for those first couple episodes, but they stayed in the boardroom was my problem. I didn't mind them having like some doubts about his identity.
Sure, that's natural, but like you got to wrap that up pretty quick because we the audience know he's Danny Rand.
Right. And that's part of the narrative, like the lack of narrative tension with that.
Exactly.
Is needing to move past it quickly enough.
And that showrunner, I forget what his name is.
Scott Buck.
Buck.
Because he's their transition to our next topic. I think this is not really the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so much as Marvel TV.
Marvel TV wrap-up.
So we also got our first look at the Inhumans.
Mm-hmm.
Got some pictures.
Which, look...
I mean, it's hard to judge.
It's Inhumany.
Yeah.
They look weird.
Yeah.
Here's my problem with it.
It's network TV, so I can't be too judgmental. Again.
But here's my problem with it. Like, it's network TV. If it's supposed to, like, run in the same timeline as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or is this going to be completely separate from the universe?
Idea.
Like, that's sort of my question about it, is, like, when is it happening? Because everybody has, like, these, like, super weird, futuristic-looking wardrobes.
I imagine they're going to be out somewhere in space. I don't think they're going to be on Earth.
No, yeah. They said that in the write-up.
They're going to be on Earth?
Yeah, that they're going to be hiding out in whatever the name of the city is. Yeah, here on Earth.
Oh, so because I know Atalanta City can be moved. So, like, they're on the dark side of the moon.
Well,
at some point.
I think it's here on Earth. I could be wrong. It doesn't... okay, we'll have to see. But that's not my problem.
Yeah.
I can deal with that.
Yeah.
My problem is that it's Scott Buck running the show.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't do a good job running shows. I watched those last couple. I watched pretty much all of Dexter eventually. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to.
And he's the one who did the last couple, which I know a lot of people don't like.
They were awful.
Yeah.
Like, that show ended badly, like as badly as Lost ended.
Oof.
It was bad. And he really mishandled Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of...
He clearly didn't get the character, and that's what makes me even more wary of the Inhumans.
Right.
Because there's...
He's only producing. He's not show running it.
Yeah.
So, there's other voices that can kind of help negate him in this.
This is also my thought process, though. I don't feel like this show belongs on ABC.
ABC is a weird choice for this show.
Cloak and Dagger, which is not a show that I'm interested in watching because it looks too teen drama-y. But,
if I wanted teen drama, I'd watch Arrow.
It's got one now. But for a network TV budget for this kind of show that's sort of fantasy, like they're kind of billing it as like Game of Thrones style, in the Marvel universe.
Like Cloak and Dagger?
No. Inhumans.
Oh, okay.
Cloak and Dagger though works for where it's going. It's going on Freeform, which is the former ABC family. So it's all kind of like kids, teens.
It's
programming.
ABC's CW.
Right. So that works. I don't understand why this is not a show that's going to an AMC type of
HBO.
premium, or better yet, HBO or, Netflix. Maybe Netflix can't afford that, but, clearly HBO can afford to produce Westworld and Game of Thrones.
Because Disney owns ABC or vice versa. And
so
they want to have it on their platform.
But they got to be able to work out.
Yeah, that's a tough sell to say that ABC is going to do a Game of Thrones style show.
Right, because that doesn't
sound like ABC at all. There's nothing else on ABC that would make me go, all right, well, they're going to go a little edgier than we know ABC traditionally goes.
Yeah, maybe not edgier, but I think when I hear them say they're going to do a Game of Thrones-ish, I don't think necessarily in the terms of how, the nudity and the level of violence. I think they think more in terms of the type of world and the look and feel,
the complexity of the characters.
Yeah, in the same way that if let's say the Silmarillion ever got made, it's never going to be uber violent in the same way that Game of Thrones is, but you would want them to do it on a budget that Game of Thrones has access to. You'd want them to be able to put that kind of production quality into it, and I think that's my issue with it being on network TV on ABC. So, I mean, maybe they could pull something out. They are doing the first 2 episodes as an IMAX movie. They're doing IMAX. They're shooting it on IMAX cameras. So clearly they're unleashing at least a budget for the first 2 episodes. So I don't know if it's something that'll look really cheap afterwards. The same throne room will just have 70% of the set dressing taken away.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see if they can pull this off. I'm very skeptical about this show. I want to like it. I want it to be good.
Yeah,
I'm very skeptical about this show.
Yeah. So.
And the fact that they've turned that movie, because they were going to do an Inhumans movie, and I know you're saying, well, they're doing it in a movie. It's released in IMAX.
You're right. It's different. This is a gimmick movie, but they are shooting it with a movie budget. Okay. So that is different than.
But that leads you to such a letdown when then the rest. Now it's a TV budget.
Yeah.
A lot of shows do that where they spend an incredible amount of money on
the pilot
and make it incredible, and then it's we don't it wasn't really that popular, so we're gonna have to cut the budget in half, and so there goes all your special effects and and all your sets, so you're down to 2 sets and no special effects, and good luck. And then the show sucks. We'll see. See. I want it to be good, but I think this might be a big misstep. For Marvel.
Yeah, Cloak and Dagger and this are going to be 2 really interesting to see how they're received.
And then you got Runaways coming too.
Yep, to Hulu. So
which, who knows if that's going to be good. That's a tough story to tell, interestingly.
I feel a little bit more confident with that because, Hulu has had is creating some good original stories on their own as well.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of budget they have for Runaways. But also what kind of powers that they're going to be using.
Doesn't one of the Runaways have a dinosaur? Doesn't the little girl have a dinosaur in the Runaways?
They've had a shifting roster, so I'm not sure.
I have to look and see who's on this roster.
I mean, at one point you have, what was it, Scarlet Witch and Vision's kid is also,
Gross. So disgusting. Creeping me out. All right, so speaking of kids, let's bring it back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
And what do you think is going to happen the final 2 episodes? Yes. Because Max stays in the Matrix or whatever the heck it's called.
Because he has a daughter. Which was, I just want to applaud that decision. It was nice to see him, even though he had the realization that the world he was in was not real, he's still a good parent.
Yeah.
He still decided to stay, even though that wasn't real, because his feelings were real. I thought that was a really interesting thing to go with. And it also proves that he's a better parent than Jin and Sun were in Lost. Seriously, they both decided to just die together when they had a kid still over in Korea. That's a bit of a problem. I'm sorry. That needed to be addressed. It's been many years, but it's a problem.
Kids' parents die all the time, Addy. That kid's totally fine.
I mean, I guess that kid inherited her company, which was
completely. It's fine.
Yeah, but still, yeah. I'm glad he stayed for his Matrix kid.
I thought it was a brave choice too for a TV show.
It was.
That it really felt right.
Yeah.
It felt like that was the choice that character would make.
Right.
And I saw a couple people who were like, well, I don't understand why Daisy just didn't like quake him into the hole and force him to go.
Because it's about character, guys. It's not about.
Yeah, it was the right choice for both of those characters at that time. Yeah, it was good. It was good. We've lost the Patriot.
Yep, Mace.
Mace is dead.
And it was very well-earned death. It was
he really went out as the hero he always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Ada has Fitz. Fitz is like completely heartbroken of the horror.
And Ada now has a human body.
And apparently magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, she did have access to the Darkhold. So,
right, exactly. So I think let me just theory. I think we're going to have a complete the circle moment where Robbie Reyes and the Rider are going to come back to defeat Ada.
Oh, that's interesting.
So she's human-esque.
Yeah.
And she has a soul, and she has flesh, and she's using magic. I think that will bring vengeance.
I was assuming she was going back into the framework with Fitz. So that's why we still have story left with Mac and with Trip, who are still inside there. So that they can
Ward.
Right, and Ward. And so that they'll still play a role to get Fitz.
That would be
back
fun
out.
too.
Yeah,
that would be fun too. I'd rather not go back into that world and leave her out and about, and her and Fitz like trying to take over the world like they did
from a dimension instead. Yeah, no, I'm all for Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider to come back too, because it also felt like when he went, because we saw him go to hell basically.
Yeah.
Like, because he made the deal with the devil, like, to commit to being Ghost Rider.
Yep.
So it'll be a nice, like, bring it back around if he does. I hope that they don't feel like it would come out of left field just because we haven't had time.
No, because if she's using the Darkhold.
Right.
If she's using Darkhold,
they just
and Darkhold magic.
Very quickly reestablish where they left off. Because they've, like, this season, just because of how fragmented it has been, it has been a while since
it has been a long time.
Since we dealt with that. Because that was before Christmas.
Yep.
If I'm right. Yeah, that was before Christmas that they resolved a lot of that. So it'll be interesting if they do bring that around. But I am all for having that come back around.
I think that would be the right way to end the show. End the season and end the show.
Yeah.
Is have him come back, help them defeat Ada, and the
let
team
them go off into whatever directions that they want to go.
Yeah, and just wrap up the story with that.
Exactly. So
I don't think there's anything left to tell.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, well, let us know. What do you think? Do you think there are other stories that are left to tell? Do you think you completely shift the roster, maybe, or who would you pick on that roster? Who, like, what could they tell in an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. story? Let us know. You can check. You can leave it in the comments, whether it's on our website, whether it's on our social media. All of that you can find on our website, certainpov.com. Don't forget, while you're there, check out everything from all the different ways you can listen and share the podcast with your friends and family. Also, our Civil War weight loss Civil War, and so many other things you can check out there. They're certainpov.com. But until next week, stay scruffy, my nerf herders.
Thanks for listening to Certain Point of View. Don't miss an episode. Just subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. Head over to certainpov.com.